thank you everyone. I have been asked to wait a little bit, so thank you for being at time. I don't know when we start. Simply have to ask. So thank you for being there. So we are going to discuss today the Web3. So before starting, just raise your hand those who already know some things about the Web3. Okay. Okay, great. So the idea of this, without screaming, it's better. The idea of this talk is to present you with the biggest lines of this new technology and the impact it have on the art world and the cultural world and how it can be used by you concretely. So I hope that you all have connection here. I have one, so normally I think everyone has some small connection because at some point I would like to help you create some wallets. So again, does anyone here have a Web3 wallet? Great. So let's hope at the end of this session you all have a wallet. I will explain what it is, and basically it's the equivalent to the mail address in the old times, and now it's the new way to access to the Web3. We will see that during the presentation. So we are going to introduce the subject, then I will try to explain very briefly what it is, then how it is technically without getting too deep into the technicalities, but I think it's important to have some notion of what it is at stake. Then we are going to try to understand what are NFTs, then again, why it is related to art and culture, which is not so evident. Then some examples, then the limits, because there are always limits, and the conclusions. So who am I? I have a career as a cultural engineer, so I have been exercising a lot of directions, tasks in Tunisia in different cultural private institutions. I founded an artistic residencies in Hammamet. I directed it for 3 years. We had more than 160 artists there. I also directed an European program that I implemented in Tunisia. And lastly, for the past 4 years, I was the director of a cultural and artistic foundation in Tunisia. So I have some kind of expertise in the fields of creative economy and cultural things. So basically, what I'm trying to do for the past 2 years is just like to trying to find bridges between this new technology and the problematics of the art and cultural field. I'm also a Web3 entrepreneur. For 2 years now, I have created two ventures. I have a startup based in Paris, which is helping people understanding getting access to wallets in a very easiest way. And I have a company who is helping artists and cultural institutions to understand what is at stake with this new technological revolution and to implement projects and strategies for them. And I also have a gallery in Tunis, in the Medina of Tunis. It's a digital art based on NFT gallery, and I will speak of that too. So, basically, why do we say Web3? It's supposed that there was a Web 2 and a Web 1. So Web 1 was the beginning of all. It was during the beginning of the 90s, but was it arrived in the 95, something like that. And basically it was only dedicated to connect yourself to an interface. And you could exchange, but not really, you could only download or send message, but you couldn't really produce things on this stuff. So you were just like, it was just like some kind of windows to the world. So it was the first step of the internet. It's called the Web 1. Then came the Web 2. Basically, we are all living in Web 2. Web 2 is born with the social medias. Basically, it's when you can upload information, you can just like create some stuff on the internet, but you are not owning them, which means basically all your datas on your social media accounts are not your property. They are stored in some kind of networks on database, and nobody really knows where they are and who is the owner of them. Because even the companies who are renting the database and the server don't own this server. And we all remember 2 years ago there was this big fire at OVH, and a lot of data has been lost, and nobody was really accountable for that. So Web3 is the point where we own what we created and we develop on the internet. So it's really, it's the main thing to understand is that, so it was, at the beginning it was connect, then exchanging, then owning. What does it mean to own? And this is what we are going to try to see during this presentation, but basically, now we are able, thanks to the technology, to own digital things that are related to physical things. So I hope I don't lost anyone there. Again, you are not that much, so if you want to interrupt or if you have questions, or if I'm not clear, please do, because I would prefer it to be a dialogue. Is everything clear for now? Almost. Okay. So, that's very nice, but what does it have to do with art and culture, specifically when we are back to raw? Actually, it's kind of important because even if we are speaking about digital revolution, digital transformation, we are also speaking about relation from this digital transformation to the real world and to the physicality of the real world and the real art. Actually, we all, I think, in this room have social medias account, and we are all have already some kind of digital identity. Even if it's not related to digital property or digital ownerships. I mean, today, all the photographers that we are seeing their works have their presence online, and they need to, because everyone is connected to these things. So basically, the new revolution on this aspect is very important to understand for the artist and the cultural part, because it's important to be part of it when it is happening. So, to make it much more concrete, I will start right now to show you some things, because otherwise it's going to be very, very theoretical. So right now I'm going to show you some stuff. And first of all, I'm going to show you what Cairo Photo Week have done. If my computer won't work, and this is great. So, basically, this is a very strong initiative that have been done by Cairo Photo Week, and I don't, wait 1 second, sorry. So basically, this is a metaverse version of the exhibition Borderless. So basically, what you are seeing right now is a version online of, so this is my avatar. As I said, he's going to gym much more than me. This is another problem. And so you can just like, actually for us, it doesn't mean a lot because we are all here and the exhibition Borderless is just next door. But when I'm going back to Paris or Brussels or Tunis in 1 week, I will be able to tell people you can just like visit this exhibition. And actually what has been done is quite interesting because you can just like navigate through the exhibition. And again, this you are doing it with. We are doing it there with a computer. You can also access it with VR goggles. So you can literally just like navigate into the exhibition, and you can just like, because there is a good resolution, even because of the connection here, it's not that. But you can really go and look at the details of the pictures. You have the names, and they didn't want fully Web3, but I will show you other examples, such as here. You can also have, let's hope that it's going to load. Yeah. So this is another thing that we are calling metaverse, which is basically, and I will explain it much more widely after, but basically it's just like a virtual space that is connected to some kind of physical stuff. Well, even if it's not necessarily connected, but it can. So this is a virtual museum of digital art. And basically, when you go to the piece of art, you can select them and you can eventually buy them or sell them, exhibiting them. And this is accessible to anyone who has an internet connection. If you have the Web3 wallet that I was speaking about, and we are going to enter it and hopefully creating one for each one of you, you can also interact with them. So this, this one is a museum created by a digital art collector who created a very large places where he do a lot of exhibition and he exhibit his collection, but he also exhibits some temporary exhibition where you can also buy pieces. Okay, this is all for now, and we will going back. So, okay. Okay, so you can understand that Web3 is starting to have connection with art and culture, and it can give access to art production and art exhibition from people who are not where the exhibitions are happening. And this is a very new big step, actually. Do you have any question about that now? Don't be shy. No question at all? Okay. Really? So now we are going to go in a little bit of technicalities, but not too much. Because what must be understood that it's that the Web3 is a mix of lot of technologies which are not related per se. What does it mean? It means that when you add the immersive technology, which has augmented reality, you know, all of it, it's just like when you take your telephone and you put it on something that have this technology and you can see on your screen something that is not appearing in real life. Virtual reality, that is what I show you. DLT, and I'm going to enter in the detail of that because this is the main point of all these Web3 things. Smart contracts, NFT, and artificial intelligence. Each one of them is not linked with the other. But when you link them all together, you start to have a new way of connecting, a new way of doing things digitally, and there is a lot of ties with what you can do physically. All the presentation is about to make you understand that. So the philosophy behind this is decentralization and the focus on data ownership. Because right now, the people who were at the beginning of the internet were trying to have this philosophy of decentralization and to just like giving a lot to the people who are of the users and everyone. And the Web 2 just showed the emergence of very big corporations who got hold of everything, the data, the money, the monetization of all data. And so basically the Web 3 is about cutting this, changing that. It's not, this is not, that doesn't mean that it's going to happen, sadly. But again, it's the philosophy behind this revolution. So I said DLT. DLT, you know it by another name, which is blockchain. DLT is the mother name, it's the technology that is the mother of a lot of other declination, and blockchain is one of the declination. Blockchain is the most well known because it's the public one. But there are a lot of other way of doing DLT. So let's say DLT is just like blockchain, and I will explain what does it mean. And actually right now, we are starting to use this technology without even knowing it, because Google, Amazon have started to transfer their infrastructure into DLT technology, but they are not public, they are private one, which means that even if at the beginning the philosophy was decentralization, it's decentralization into the technology, but not decentralization into the governance. And this is a lot of things to understand and to understand about the fights that can happen in this field and technology. Again, if I'm going too quick or if it's too obscure, just tell me and I will just like try to clarify. So the so-called blockchain technology, which is basically DLT, is a revolution of the database. You're going to tell me, yes, that's great, but what do I have to do with database? Actually, whatever you do when you are connecting through a computer or a phone is using database, encrypted data on database. So if you don't have the ownership of your data, you don't own anything. And again, very pragmatically, this is the part that is the part that is the most technical, but again, we are going very quickly again on the art and the photography, but it's important to understand. Um, so basically, it's a new way of doing database that are giving access to anyone publicly and to see precisely what is happening on the database and who is changing what. It's giving a lot of security, of privacy, because it's anonymous, um, and no one can tamper it. So these are the property. Mario, just a question. This can be shared after work with the people who attended? Yeah. Okay.
I just need to make sure that
Okay. Those who want to get the presentation to have the more detail just can just like come to us after and give us the yeah. So we'll so you will have all the details. So these are the property of this DLT, but as I said, the essential. So again, I said that the decentralization of the infrastructure of the technology doesn't mean the decentralization of the governance, and this is a big risk that we are going to tackle the risk at the end of the presentation. So to understand the connection between these technologies, you have to understand that this DLT, this blockchain part, is at the center of this network, which means that as soon as you start to code the VR programs or the virtual reality program or the artificial intelligence program onto this DLT, you can use them as it is your own, which means that actually, I said earlier, that we all start to have digital identity on the social media networks. This digital identity now can have ownership. So, which means that it has a lot of intrication, because right now, for example, when you have a diploma, or when you have a driving license, or when you are a photographer and you just like print or sell your picture, it just like go in the wind. It's just a piece of paper. Now it can be encrypted into this technology and related to your own identification on this DLT, which is permanent and which is very secured, which means there is a lot of stuff that is going to be ownable now through the digitalization and the tokenization. Tokenization of everything is a new concept that is appearing, and it means that basically you will have a way of doing tokens that will be digital representation of anything that can exist in the real world. So basically, it can be the owner, the title of ownership of a house. It can be your diploma. It can be your identity card or your passport. It can be anything. And actually, right now, there are a lot of people trying to experiment with that. And at some point, it can be kind of scary because basically, if anything is anymore, if there is no more gray zone, we can see it becoming some kind of totalitarian dystopia where everything is controlled by some kind of, we don't know what kind of centrality or anything like that. So basically there are the two sides and two aspects of it. And this is why I'm trying to explain it more and more to people, because the more we are going to understand it as it is starting to be created, because this is creating now, the more we are going to be able to impact it and change it. Because as I told you, right now, nobody of you who are using probably Amazon and Google know that they are starting to put their infrastructure into this DLT technology, which means that we are not even aware that it is happening. And it is important to understand what is happening. I'm going to drink some water, sorry. So now we go to NFT. NFT have been born with the PDF. Why? In 1991, some researchers who were working on the beginning of the internet, they were also from the university, and they just asked themselves, now I am a researcher, I'm going to do some publications, but when I'm going to release the publication online in the Web1, so it was just like connect, so people are going to be able to connect and to download what I'm going to put. Uh, how can I preserve my intellectual property? How can I preserve my intellectual ownership, my royalties and all the stuff? And they developed the idea that came in the world recently in 2018 as NFTs. So basically it has been conceived in 1991, but due to the lack of the proper technology, because computers and graphics and everything could not do the calculation that they can do now, this thing happened to be concepted but created only recently. So what is an NFT? Like everyone, you probably heard about NFT in 2021 with all the big speculation around digital art. And like a lot of people, you may think or may not think that it is only an image, a JPEG. An NFT is absolutely not linked to art, and it's not an image nor a GIF, nor anything like that. NFT is specifically, so the definition is just like that, but it's a unique unit of data. An NFT is basically some kind of code, programming code, encrypted into a blockchain or a DLT. This is it. And it is a certificate of authenticity and certificate of property. So from there, you can just like decline it to any kind of other stuff. What does mean fungible and non-fungible? Does anyone know? Okay, so we are going to go there.
But please go ahead.
So, fungible does mean that it's something that is exchangeable and not unique. What does that mean? Money is fungible. If I give you $100, I will ask you to give me back $100, but it won't be the 100 that I gave to you. It can be 2 bills of 50, it can be 5 bill of 20, anyhow. But I don't need you to give me back my 100 that I gave you. It's something that can be divided, it's something that can be exchangeable, it's something that is fungible. Non-fungible, on the contrary, means that the object, the item, has a unique identity. So if I lend you, let's say, this watch, which has a lot of, it has a history, some emotional value and everything, I will wait for you to give me back my watch, not any kind of watch. So this is the difference between fungible and non-fungible. So this can be in the physical realm or the digital realm. Is it clear? So why now non-fungible tokens, NFTs, are considered like a revolution? Because they give, through this piece of code, who is actually a certificate of authenticity and property, two qualities, two digital objects, rarity and utility, which until now they didn't have. Sorry. So up until now, digital objects were just like copy-pastable. You can just like copy-paste at the infinite. Now, when you link them to NFTs, these non-fungible tokens, that are encrypted into this DLT technology, what I was explaining, they become rare, and eventually you can put utility into them. What does that mean? As a photographer or as a collector, you could buy some digital art up until 2018, but you won't have any, you won't be able to be certain that it won't be copy-pasted and sold from a number of editions infinite. Now, if one of the photographers who is there want to put out in the market a photography that he's exhibiting, he can do it through an NFT and saying there will be only one edition of that, or 5 editions, depending on what he wants. And from there, it is becoming a real, just like a physical object. There won't be more than 5 of these digital objects that can be exchanged, traded, sold, bought, collected. Utility, what does that mean? Yeah, please.
The person that buys it can just go to there and sell it. You can create images or prints.
No. This, you're right if you consider that the NFT is the image. Though the NFT is the certificate of authenticity that is linked to a file, which can be an image. No, this file is untempered. This file is totally, it's like written in stone. It's unique. Well, it's unique. It depends if the creator made one piece or 5 pieces, but it's unique. Each one is unique. In eventually a series, each one is unique. Well, I'm going to develop on that. Yeah, please.
But just to answer the question, you're absolutely correct that you can copy it. On the internet, you can take a screenshot of that image.
Of the image, but not of the NFT.
Not of the NFT, not of the actual linked address. As he's saying, you can have a picture. The picture is on the internet. You have a copy remotely, but you can't own it.
The slide after is about ownership. So we are going to explain what ownership we are speaking about. I'm just going to finish about the utility, and then we are going to. The utility just means, but thank you for, and it's important because it's the moment to clarify all this. So the utility is just, it's not just, because it's really not just, but it's the fact that you can link to this NFT something, a counterpart, which means if we go back to the road, I want to say again, but if we go back to the photography example, a photograph can link an NFT to a series of images, and their counterpart will be eventually to have a print. So when you buy the NFT, you will be certified to have a print version, or you have access to all the exhibition of the artist, or you have access to, or if we go back to the real estate example, if you buy an NFT of a house, you have access to the house, and you become the owner of the house. And this again is something quite new to link and to tie digital things that can be identified as unique to real counterpart value or real counterpart things, whatever they be. And we are going to go back to that too. Any other question before I go to answer the first one?
Yeah, I have a question.
Two, yes.
Completion of the first one. Let's say I have an image and I send it to someone, a collector. Can he create from the same image a number of NFTs? And in that case, or if this is not possible, does that mean that the NFT is an equivalent of the barcode?
An equivalent of?
Say that it's the same identification, that there's never two equivalent NFTs?
You can say that effectively it can be seen as an equivalent of a barcode or a QR code, except that the QR code is not on a decentralized database or distributed database, which means that basically we saw it with the vaccine. The vaccines could be, and they have been hacked. A lot of people had just false data codes because it was not unique actually. It was not related to one unique identity, digital identity. The NFT is related to one unique digital identity, which means that as a collector, if he bought your NFT, he won't ever be able to tamper the NFT code, which means that it will be always related to his own unique identity on this blockchain. He can't do anything. What he can do eventually is just sell it again, but he can keep it and sell it. It's this. Yeah, yeah. Okay. It's not possible because you are the creator. Well, it's not possible. If he's not honest, he can do it, but basically you can just like pursue it by justice because he don't have the right to do it. But what do I mean? It means we saw, but they have been punished. A lot of people usurpating creations and putting on marketplace on NFT marketplaces creations that were not theirs. But basically, people just like told the marketplace, and the marketplace just like erased their account and retributed the creators who were wrongly done.
Yeah. I just want some clarity into this. So we are currently living in a physical world, and basically a property like this has a deed, it has a value, it's unique, it has an owner. So what we're doing right now is we're trying to regulate the internet, right? By NFTs and all these new technologies that we have. So an NFT is like a deed in the actual world, like in the virtual world, for a specific, let's say, product or item. That's true, right?
It can be seen like that, but it's, yeah, actually, it's just giving more possibility. Let's say that we are living in a physical realm, well, apparently, and let's say that we are more and more. There was a study it's from the um, World Bank that stated that the majority, I think it was 55% of the people under the age of 30 or 27, were living more than 80% of their time on their connected. Which means that yes, we are living physically, but basically we are all spending a lot of time, amount of time digitally. So this technology is just like bridging the gap, you know, and facilitating things, and automating things also, and securizing things. So people, of course, are trying to gain a lot of money from that because each time there is new innovation, people are just seeing the financial opportunities. So a lot of people are trying to do exactly what you are saying. But again, this is why I think it's important to share right now what is happening for the people to understand how they can reach out to this technology and just trying to create new things. Because again, we can see that we are just like in the beginning of the 90s with this new Web3. In the beginning of the 90s, Amazon was nothing. It was not even started to be created. I mean, a lot of things are still possible because a lot of things are in the doing right now. So the more people are going to understand the potentiality of it and how to try it, the more we are going to have the possibilities to change things. On the contrary, if you just like saying, yeah, we will see, because right now it's still not sure that it's going to be the new norms or the new things, or bad people are using it for bad reasons. Then in 5 to 10 years, we are going to see exactly the same thing that happened with the Web 2, actually. We're going to be in a very bad world, I think, because the potentiality of the bad things with this is just like much more crazy than from the previous one. But I'm going to explain that later too. I don't know if I... Yeah. So, what do you own when you own an NFT? This is the question. Do you own the JPEG? What do you own? So, if we go through really the definition, you own a digital certificate. This is what you own. This is what you buy. It's encrypted onto a DLT, which we are calling their blockchain for simplifying. And this certificate is pointing out to a digital object, which can be anything. It can be an image, it can be a text, it can be a PDF, it can be a GIF, it can be a movie, it can be a music, it can be anything. Whereas on a server where this digital object is stored. So basically, you don't own the digital object because the digital object, again, can be copied multiple times. But you own the certificate of ownership and authenticity, which is the same as all there, because what impedes you now to take a picture of one of the pictures that you like the most, print it, frame it, and put it in your wall? I mean, what we say, it's totally feasible even if in the real world. You can just go in the analog section, took a nice picture, and just reproduce it in your house. But you won't have the authenticity of it. You are not going to own it. You just own a copy, which is the same here with the digital object. So owning the digital certificate is the only way to prove that you own the thing from the creator or from the producer or from whatever who is have the right to sell it. So now, just to refine this definition, the digital object, it can be the asset that you want. So basically, in the field of art, you can own a digital certificate to own a picture or a piece of art or whatever, but it can also only a digital representation of it. And this is where we go to the tokenization of everything, which means in the case of real estate, and I'm saying real estate because in the US it's starting to become a thing. So when you own an NFT for a house, it's only the digital certificate is pointing out to a digital representation of a house. Is it clear? Yeah, but it's a token of the real thing. So, but having it means that you have access to the real thing. And this is the shift actually, the shift of mind that we are living right now. I mean, we are going to be more and more in a world where when you get the digital the digital certification of the digital representation, you have the real thing. And this is kind of crazy actually. Really, I think really, it's totally crazy. And we spoke about philosophy yesterday, and this is exactly the Platonic image of the cavern, and we are in it, right? Is it clear? Is it clear? It can be. It can be. So, what are the advantages of the NFTs for the creators, the artists, and there is the protection of IP and the royalties, because right now a lot of artists, when they are selling their work, if the collector or the buyer is just like selling it again without going through public sales or auction house, he never see the royalties, never. Now with this thing, the royalties are just like automatized. So as soon as the buyer is going to sell again your work, you are going to take your royalties. There is the proof of ownership, the certificate of authenticity, the transferability, which means you have, as a creator, all the right to give what you want as access and permission to exchange. You can decide to not giving the ability or very limited ability to exchange the thing. And the codability, which means triggering utilities as an automatization digitally. So this is it. This is very technical, but this is a summary of what we said and up until now. So how does it work? I won't go there because it's, but as I will give you the presentation, it's important for you to have it. So the definition technically of the thing is there, so you will have it when you get the presentation, but it's not really, well, of course, if you want to know, but I mean, it's very technical, so I don't think it's very interesting. But basically just coding. What does it look like? It looks like that. An NFT is basically 3 pages of that. So for those who code, it's very similar to JavaScript. Nobody codes, okay. So basically, just like a code. So it's really a piece of code. And as I said it plenty of time, it can be used as a token for a lot of things, and we already said a lot of examples. So what will be the difference with a stock photography platform? Mainly, it's the ownership and control, because as a photographer, when you put your work on a stock photography platform, first of all, you're on the Web2, so you don't own anything of your data, so you're giving back your ownership to the platform, and you don't have control over how many people are going to use it, how they're going to use it, which is about authenticity also. And you only have a limited license. When you go on stock photography platform, you give back your rights, except for some kind of limited license. The revenue potential also is much more higher because you decided what is the final price when you sell your NFT. On the contrary, on the platforms, you just have a fee on what is sold. And again, the authenticity, because you decide how many editions you are going to release, and on the platform, it's just like as much as people want to buy them on page. That doesn't mean that you don't have to go on stock photography platforms, but that doesn't mean only that you have the option now. So, I'm going to drink again water, sorry. Any question?
Yeah, please, what's the meaning of the additional
Sorry?
the previous slide,
Yeah.
the limited edition?
Yeah.
That means I can create more than one edition on the same.
Yeah. Just like when you print pictures, you can just like decide that there will be 5 prints, or 6, or 7, or 1. So you decide it when you create it. So art, culture, and Web3. Yeah, it's important and interesting to know why NFTs have been introduced by the art, because as I said, and as you I think start to understand, it's very much wider. Uh, if we go back to the roots of digital art, which was cybernetic art in the 60s, and then it became the net art, and then it became, up until now, it started to be just called digital art, even though some people start to advocate to call it crypto art. The main problem that digital artists have been faced since the beginning of their field is that they could not valuating it. It was not possible for the art market to valuate what they do, what they did. But again, it can be seen as some problem, can be seen as not as a problem, because a lot of them are kind of anarchist artists also. But now what happened is just like the digital art and the digital artists have been incorporated into the art market. And we saw a lot of, well, as anything, there was some kind of speculative bubble, and it exploded last year, so it's a good thing. And now we just see again some artists who are trying to live and create through digital art. But this is why basically NFTs have been just like reclaimed by this field. So this is the first thing that we heard, all of us. It was the piece of art of Beeple, the American digital artist, that have been sold at Christie's for 69 millions of dollars. And so everyone started to learn about this with this. But it's not only a solution for the digital world, because it's also, actually it's really a bridge between the digital and the physical. For example, for collectors, it's really useful, because one of the main problems of the collectors are how they can manage their collections, manage their certificate of authenticity. Usually it's a nightmare, because when they buy they don't always have the certificates. The inventory is very complicated because of that. So you can also just like add some NFTs to physical pieces. It doesn't mean that you have to only have digital art pieces to have NFTs. As we said, it is a token. It is a digital representation. It's not the real thing. So you can just like add on this digital certification on any kind of stuff. Again, because it's the ownership of the digital certification certificate that is going to give you access to the thing. So basically, it can be a very good solution to facilitate the management of the physical. There is a very, very big conglomerate of all the world companies that are managing the logistic transportation of objects and stuff and goods in the world, that just created, well, they created it 3 years earlier. Sorry, I'm starting. They created 3 years, and it is actually a platform where they use NFTs and DLTs technology to just like regulate the management of their logistical stuff around the world. So actually it's starting to be something that is very usable. So there are a lot of use cases that can be. So we have the audience development. So these are the examples that can be used in the cultural and art world. Basically, it is something that can be very useful for all the audience development. As I showed you earlier, there was this, actually Cairo Photo Week did the metaverse version of the Borderless exhibition. The MoCA Museum on CryptoVoxel is also doing it. But you can imagine the potentiality for any kind of cultural institution to reach out to new public and new audience if they really develop some new ways, just like we saw. I don't think if everybody was there, but we can see it again later. Through the metaverse and through the access on this kind of stuff, because only with a connection and a device you can have access to what is happening in your cultural institution. So you just have the border of your cultural institution, but you can just like reach out to the entire world actually. Collection management, I just said it. Marketing and monetization, because again, when you go into a museum or into any kind of places where there is some kind of shop, you can also now buy some NFT editions of the art pieces that they have in their museum. And again, it's not you are not buying the right of the pieces that are in the museum, but only the edition, just like when you go in the shop of any kind of museum and get some kind of postal card of this kind of thing. NFT books is something that is going very, very widely trendy right now, because there are platforms that have started. Because when you, again, I don't know how many of you own books, but I have a lot of books. I love to have books. But when you have digital books, might they be Kindle or e-books or anything, you don't own them. And there you can really have a digital library in your house, in your phone, but you have it really. I mean, they are your own books. And again, what is really interesting, it's maybe not for the old books, but for the contemporary books, it's great because of the utility. Because the writers can add things to that. They can add some kind of perks, or they can add some utility that made you, that gave you availability for them, or this kind of stuff. NFT music also is something that is starting to become very trendy. There is 2 months ago, the SACEM, 2 months ago, the SACEM, which is the Society of Collecting droit d'auteur, copyrights for the French musicians and French composer, just signed a partnership with one of the NFT music platforms. And now, for the first time in France, and first time in the world, music NFT music can be collected. I should. No, no, but you don't have to be sorry. I didn't do anything. So the NFT music. So it's strange to go back to the digital after the cushion of the real. So again, just to say that.
Yeah, I really don't understand this. It's open for public. Isn't it? What's the problem? Yes, I know it's not you, but I have to say it. Because this is, we are speaking about climate change, we're speaking about Web3, we're speaking about art. So what's the problem? I don't understand.
I really like.
Please continue.
Yeah, but she is raising a point. Um, so So yeah, basically this was only to say that actually right now it's a lot of things are happening that are made it very real, and it is actually taken by real institutions. Uh, for the NFT music, one of the main institutions in France that is one of the most important and most powerful in terms of economy is really taking seriously these things. So it's important to understand that it's not just like something that I'm just like showing you in this presentation, but it's something that is really have a strong impact in the creative field and creative industries. NFT movies also are becoming a thing. You are going to hear in the next few months, I think it's next year, the release, but Martin Scorsese's next movie is an NFT movie. Uh, yeah, and you can just Google it to see that. Why? Because what the NFT are giving as a possibility is to raise money. It's a new way of doing crowdfunding. Because as you can divide your movie or a piece of art, or it depends on the art, of course, because in music it's kind of evident. In movie you can just like cut it by frame. In photography it's much more complicated, but not that much. You have to have imagination. But actually it is a good way to raise money against real ownership of something. Because if you go back to the different kind of crowdfunding platforms that we saw emerging for the past 15 years in the Web2, actually you didn't have any counterpart except if the person who is behind the crowdfunding campaign is going to give you the thing, but have to give you physically. But as we saw that NFTs are automatizing this kind of stuff, as soon as you buy an NFT of the project that you want to found, you will get automatically the contribution of it, the counterpart of it. It is something to understand. Any question on that? Actually, there are pieces of the movie that you can sell, and you get a counterpart of it. So, depending on how much of the part that you have, you can just like have access to, as soon as the movie, you can have the DVD or you can have the file. You see what I mean? I mean, actually, it's very, for now, it's very depending only on the imagination of the producer or the creator to reflect on what they can give you back. So you can have, if you buy, I don't know, 50% of the NFT movie, you become one of the main producers. So I guess you have access to the different festival where it's going to be, or this kind of stuff. You know, it depends on it actually. For the music, when you own music or part of the album, you get the royalties when the album is going to be sold. I mean, you get literal money. I guess for the movie they are doing the same. I mean, if there are so many money that it's going to get back, because you enter as a producer into it.
But then to the artists of said music and movies, do they get the credit they deserve? Or do the people that just got it, like bought it, get the credit?
No, I think it's for those who are, for the actors and the technical teams, they just get what the contract is giving them, but the others are just like considered as producer.
Even though they didn't help produce anything, they just paid for it?
But the producer basically is paying. In the industry, in this movie industry, the producer is the one who is paying for the things to be done. But
Just remember that this is an asset we're talking about. So the contributors, the actors and the technical people and so on, that's what you're buying. That's what someone going to the theater goes to see the actors and goes to see the production quality and so on. So the recognition of the people who produce that, the creators, that's very, very important part of the value of the asset, the value of the movie, and you're owning a portion of that movie. So when that movie does very well in the theaters, you, as an owner of a portion of that movie, you're like an executive producer, you're getting a portion of that.
It's also an investment.
Pardon?
Yeah.
So it's also an investment.
Yeah.
Well, it's an investment in that asset. And that asset hopefully is worth more later on. And yeah, so it's very different from the old system where, you know, executive producers would make millions and actually the actors wouldn't get paid, you know, and also maybe the smaller investors gets from them. Anyway, I just
Please.
supporting what you're saying. It's hard to get your head around this right now because we didn't live in this world before, but now it's becoming much more decentralized and much more democratic in terms of what we can support.
At least we can have a stake to make it more democratic, but because there are balances there. So these are different use cases. I can show you also, I wanted to show you other use cases that are much more close to us than Martin's courses. So this was the museum I was showing you earlier. Okay. So this, for example, is Silverbat. So, okay, so it's what is called a DAO. The term is not very important, but you can look for it on the internet, DAO, Decentralized Autonomous Organization. It's a new term for artist collective or collective. So these are sub-Saharan African artists who just like regroup themselves onto digital artists, but not only digital, regroup themselves into this DAO. And actually, they were very fed off the fact that their only access to the fair, the art fair, the international art fair, were through the European galleries or the American galleries, because the contemporary art field in Africa is quite complex. There is no marketplace, so the marketplaces are either in US or in Europe. And so they are depending each time on the European gallery to choose them and bring them to the fair, which is kind of similar for the MENA region art scene actually, but this is another topic. So they decided to regroup themselves into this collective and to make some public sales. Each one of them made NFT edition of their art pieces, from 5 to 10 editions, and all the benefits of it will be dedicated to bring them to the art fair, because the art fair entry price is quite high. So basically from there they raised more than $250,000, I think. So for the past year and a half, they're just like working for themselves, presenting their work, selling their work without having to attend and wait for all the galleries from the northern shore of the Mediterranean to come and choose them. So this is one of the examples I like. Artpool is a DAO, a collective of curators who also have happened to create their own marketplaces. So they have the same problem in a certain way than the artists, which is actually that they have to be chosen by cultural institution to showcase their creation. So they decided to put themselves together, again, do fundraising to create this platform and to organize their own events where they can just like showcase their own creation. So basically what is interesting there is that it's a new way of organizing ourselves. It's a new way to raise money. It's a new way to be able to show to the world things without having to wait to be chosen, actually. And the last example, it's much more egocentric. It's the gallery that I created in Tunisia. It's Mono Tunis. It's on Instagram. So with my partner and friend, I have to connect. I won't do that. So I own some place in the Medina of Tunis, and I wanted to do something related to art. So we just opened this very sci-fi door. We put a very high definition screen, and actually our gallery is Web3, so it's only on the internet. But we decided to showcase what the digital art is in the Medina of Tunis for the people of the Medina, because no one is really knowing what it is. So basically we have this space where Kenza is going to change the art piece each month. And we project what is happening in the Web3 field. and we are selling and buying through the Web3 without doing anything there, which is fun because in Tunisia actually it's not forbidden, but it's not legal, and this gallery is just like 5 minutes feet through the Casbah place where the Ministry of Finance and all the ministry, and nobody know what it is. I mean, it's just like the total piracy, it's just like.
What is illegal exactly?
Hmm?
What is illegal exactly?
What is legal?
What is illegal?
No, it's not. It's neither illegal, neither legal. NFTs, digital, all this stuff is kind of in a mystery. We don't really know what it is. So.
We have the same case in Egypt.
Yeah, I saw that before coming. I did my research, but
What is NFT? Some say it's illegal, it's completely illegal and completely.
I really do my research. No, it's not. NFTs are not.
Some people are, I know it's just.
No, but because it's on the law of 2020, 154, 164 law of 2020 about the digital currencies. And actually, NFTs are not considered, they are not even stated. The thing is not considered as nothing, but cryptocurrencies are forbidden. The promoting and trading without having a license from the central bank is prohibited, and you can go to jail and have a lot of fines.
So they say NFT is not legal because any cryptocurrency is illegal.
Yeah, but there are a lot of marketplaces that are giving the opportunity of the buyer to pay per card, not going through cryptocurrencies.
So I don't understand. Let's say I got an offer from someone that wants to buy.
He can buy by card, he can buy by cash or by card. He doesn't have to go through cryptocurrencies to that.
Let's say 200% of the people want to go through crypto, and I really don't understand it, and they insist on a certain platform. So some work on OpenSea, some work on other platforms, and each one wants to deal with this. And I don't know how can I guarantee that after I put the piece of art and the photo and mint it, that he will actually buy it.
Yeah.
So how is this regulated? Or is it a sell and buy relationship?
Normally just like a sell and buy relationship. But sadly, I did a workshop specifically on this topic for creators yesterday, where we really went to the details. But I can go that now, but we can discuss after. So this was for the example. Go back there. So, what about the metaverses? Metaverses were the term that we heard a lot this past few months. So a lot of people thought of it as virtual reality, but as I show you example, I think it's much more interesting to see them as immersive websites. Immersive website linked to the digital ownership. So immersive website where you are able to just like VR glasses or just like go with your phone with the augmented reality and just look for what you are going to buy or what you want to see or anything. So it's much more like that with the ability to eventually bought it directly and get delivered after that. So a lot of people are saying that, and I think it's really what we are going to see. I think in 3 to 5 years, I think most of the websites are going to be immersive websites. We're going to have the opportunity to connect, which is already the case with your bank account, but you can also just like have the ability to connect your virtual reality device and just like go through it and see what it is happening there. But I don't really believe that it's going to be virtual realities where everyone is going to wear casks and Googles to just like do things that we are already doing here. But it is possible that in the next 5 years, these kinds of conferences are held virtually. This is something that is quite possible. AI, I don't know who already used AI here. Okay. Not that much. Okay, so So artificial intelligence is the thing right now. It's the hot stuff. ChatGPT has been released a few months ago, So no, they won't replace us right now, and I don't think they will replace us ever. But I think it's important for everyone to know that it exists and you can use them. So I'm just going to show you what it is and how it works. It saved me plenty of time in my work, and I think it will do the same for you. So right now we have two main artificial intelligence, the one who are related to image. I will show it to you too. And the one who are model language based. So this is ChatGPT. Uh, so basically, ChatGPT is you go to Chat OpenAI, you just like Google ChatGPT, and you finally go to this place, and there you can ask anything to this AI. For example, I will do it right now. Hi, hello there. Please. So I know it just seems like very anecdotic like that, but actually he can do a lot of stuff. If you are working in the content creation, he can help you with that. He has a database quite incredible. He has encyclopedic knowledge. He can do code if you are a coder and you need to help with things. So it's really something very crazy. Does someone want to ask him anything? No. I assure you it's not a play or a game, it's really something that you should discover.
Will it give the same answer to the same question? Let's say I asked him on my platform the exact same question with the same word.
I think there are variations because it's a predicted language model, which means that basically he's working on the.
Everyone will create the same content.
No, and plus you can just like ask here, you have the originate. This, if the answer didn't. Okay. So you can just ask him to do another one.
What I mean, for example, I saw this many of places that content creators use it instead of doing their own research. Let's say I'm an editor and I'm revising the work manually as we usually did, and we know how to do editing. So what if I receive two manuscripts that are, let's say, about 60 to 70% identical because both the authors use chat.
GPT.
Yeah.
Actually, this is why I say it's not going to replace human intelligence because you need to work again. I mean, it's just like some kind of super assistant. It gives you things, but it's never what you want to do. I mean, you have to rewrite after. You have to go after it, and you have to just like create your own content. But it's just like you give to a super assistant something. You tell him, "I need that." Even a CEO who have executive assistant is going to go after and just like rewrite things because it's the way you have to take owner.
Students will be using it for their essays and their.
Yeah, but again, which is very complicated with this tool, is to get him to give you what you need, because it's a predictive language model. It's not a real intelligence, which means that he's working on the most probability word that is supposed to come after the one he just get. So sometimes it's saying something totally stupid.
Are very easy. Let's say write an essay about listening English.
Yeah, but again, he's not going to be very precise, he's not going to be very fine. So, I mean, it depends on the exigence and the rigor of the one who is asking. If you really have some kind of exigence toward what you are producing, you are going to be in the need of refine it, push it. If I show you what I do, I'm doing an experiment with it. I'm trying to write a book with that. I'm a writer too. I have published books, but I'm trying to write a book with him, and it's kind of complicated because for the good chapter that I want, I have to ask him 10 times because sometimes it's not good, and each time I have to after that rewrite it. But again, it's an experiment. I think it's interesting to test things because it's just like crazy. Sorry, there is one there and.
Come closer because my voice is.
Yeah.
One of my friends used the child and he's interested in philosophy and all that, so he kept asking it some philosophical questions.
So, are you sure that it won't replace us? Because I believe that if you gave it like the correct keywords and you trained it a bit, I believe that it would be able to like replace us actually.
It might replace us if we continue to go stupider and stupider as a species. This is certain, and this is what we were. No, but because it's always the same. I think. As long as humanity is able to master the language and the written knowledge, I don't think it will replace us. But as we see that the more and more we go, the less and less as a species we write, and we have an attention span that is going through less than 3 seconds now, thanks to a lot of social medias. I think yes, if it continues like that, yes, we're just like probably going to be very dependable of this thing. But again, yes.
Yeah, I just want to add that this is predictive modeling. It, as you just pointed out, it predicts the next average word. It's not creative. It's not intelligent. It doesn't think. It doesn't have any creativity. It's only going through an enormous database and picking out things that are there. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course. Please.
Can you ask it, can you open a ChatGPT account in Egypt?
Wait, sorry, I just lost my desk. What will be the question when?
Can you or can I open, well, not you, because you have an account already. Can this audience, or can we in Egypt open a ChatGPT account? I'm interested in this answer because I know the answer for me. Questions?
So OpenAI does not currently offer individual accounts for its language model, including me, ChatGPT. Access to OpenAI's language model is typically provided through APIs that developers can integrate into their own applications. So yes.
So the answer is actually no.
But if I
A lot of words
No.
say no. It's offered through another API. You can use it through Canva. You know, you can access ChatGPT through Canva, but you can't get an account here in Egypt through an OpenAI.
the same one for Amazon.
Your Egyptian phone number will not work. So that's just interesting. I don't want to take away from your.
No, please.
But you know, actually, this ChatGPT is highly filtered. It's highly censored. So the information behind it is probably much more extensive than we know, right? But the access worldwide is limited to countries that they want to have people access. And I guess in Tunisia, it's no problem.
I don't think so.
Where are you?
I'm based in Belgium. I will be in Tunis. I didn't want to Tunis since this thing got out.
Okay, but your ChatGPT, when you
It's linked from my Google account actually. I don't know. This is a good question.
so it's a European number. Yeah.
You
Anyway.
know, before we had the same issue with Amazon. If I wanted to make a request through Amazon, I couldn't request anything. But if I used an international address, even if it's a fake address, but it says that I live in USA, and then I would ask it to. So I guess we can do the same. We can change the location of where we are. I just have one tiny question. When I use
For me or for ChatGPT?
if I use ChatGPT and I'm writing a text or a book or anything, it the reference section of the citation, I will write what, does it give me a list of references, or will I use ChatGPT?
Yeah, I don't know. This is great because all this is just like on the go. We don't have any answer to that because we don't know. For the book that I'm writing, I plan to just say written with the authors will be two, me and ChatGPT, because he helped me a lot to that. But for the, I think you can ask him for references also, so you can just like point out to references he's using. I wanted to show you Midjourney, but we don't have many time, so I just continue, and then if you have time, I will show you the image producing AI. So wallets. This is the most important part for me. So, do you all have connections on your phone here? If so, yeah. If so, download MetaMask. I should have written it. Meta, M-E-T-A, mask, like a mask. It's going to take some time, so I'm going to explain what it is while you do it. So wallet, as I stated it in the beginning of the presentation, as in some extent the equivalent to the mail addresses in the Web3. It's not really that, but it's somehow that. So basically there are digital wallets where you can store your digital digital objects. Might they be cryptocurrency, which we are not going to address here because of a lot of reasons, but also NFTs, which is much more interesting right now. There are unique addresses, and these addresses are composed by two things. There are private keys and public keys. Private keys is going to be the thing that you are going to get from the application when you download it, and it's a succession of 12 words that you have to keep secret and private because they are the only ways for you to access back to your account in the same order that they have given to you in the sequence. So right now you are going to have to write down these things and put the paper somewhere and avoid to put them on the internet because otherwise you can be hacked. So private keys are really private and the only access for your wallet. And all the stories that you might have heard of people who have lost millions and millions, it's because they lost their private keys and they don't know where they are. And public keys is the address of your wallet that you can give to people and with which you are going to interact on the Web3 and exchange and give or sell NFTs and all this kind of things. And actually, wallets is the thing that can give you access to what is called DApp, DAPP, which are decentralized applications, which are actually for example, the NFT marketplaces that you quote earlier are that because you have to access through wallets to get the full functionality of it. So basically, I just invite you to create this. So just follow the steps because I think it will be good for you to leave this presentation with an entry point to the Web3. It was not just like some kind of empty talk. I don't know if you are following. You are all good? I have to see where you are in the... Yeah, follow the steps actually. Follow the steps. Yeah, create a new wallet. And just be ready to write down your private keys. And from there I will show you the interface. The password is just for you to access back the application, but it doesn't, if you lost the password, as long as you have the private key, you can do another password. The main important thing is the private key, which is just the step after the password normally.
Can I say something?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I already have an account.
But higher, because...
Hi. So I already have an account. I've created the one, and I have created the OpenSea thing, and I uploaded my work and everything, and no views ever since I uploaded everything. It has been a year so far. I started doubting even, my work is not good enough or something is wrong. I don't know. It's like zero views, zero likes, zero everything, and I don't know if I'm doing it wrong or is it not connected or I don't know.
No, this is sad because yesterday was the workshop exactly about this subject.
I signed up for it, but I had a shoot, so I.
No, it's not a problem. Actually, being as an artist on this NFT marketplace doesn't uh, assure you of selling anything. It's just like telling me I'm on Instagram, I have an account for 1 year and a half, I posted something and I have no follower. It's exactly the same actually. Because these marketplaces, especially OpenSea, are the jungle. I mean, it's really a huge place where a lot of people coming, a lot of noise, and very difficult. It's very difficult for creators to appear and go out. So, what I said yesterday, and it was really about that, and what I do because I help a lot of artists trying to go into this world. It's the same thing as a real. You are. It's not. It's in the real art market. I mean, you have to stand out. You have to market yourself as a creator. You have to brand yourself. You have to do all the community engineering things. Huh?
From scratch.
Yeah, from scratch. But this is up to the creator who want to go to him. This is why the example I gave about the Cyberbat DAO from the African artist is good because the fact that they created this community from scratch by saying we are artists from Africa. We don't. They stated a lot of things. We don't have access to. We regroup ourselves as a collective for that. Help us and it get attention because basically they were from different countries. They each have own followers. So this is the kind of stuff that you have to think of as strategy.
Can I ask how can I market for myself for the NFTs thing? Because it's not common in Egypt through Instagram or Facebook. Maybe Twitter sometimes. I'm using honestly Twitter, but sometimes there are a lot of spams and there are a lot of thieves on there. I don't know.
Yeah, Twitter is Twitter. Actually, the main advice that I give is just like thinking as who you want to target. Who will be your collectors? Are they just like digital art collectors everywhere? Are they just like Egyptian collectors? Are just the Egyptian from abroad collectors? You see, you have to define who you are going to sell your art to and where they are. Because if you don't know who they are, you don't know where they are. And if you don't know where they are, you don't know where you are going to find them. So you have to identify in what's social media or in the real life, or because you can also sell your NFT through real life events. Because a lot of people are just collectors, and they just never had the opportunity to have a wallet or know anything, but they would like to collect digital art. So you can just like reach out to these kinds of people if they are your target, and just like telling them, here what I do, I can explain you how to get a wallet, blah 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 blah. So you have to really just to apply marketing strategies to that. And depending on who is your target audience. So,
Thank you.
no, please. No. Yeah, don't enable. So it doesn't change anything, but don't do it. This is it, yes. No, wait. Sorry. Not that. Yeah, this is it. Is everyone got his wallet set up? No? Okay, you will tell me.
I want to ask what's the difference between Ethereum and Polygon? Right? If I don't use Ethereum, I have to mint each photo for about $200, which is a fortune now in Egypt. But if I'm using Polygon, I can mint for free. But
It-
the collectors refuse to deal with polygons or any premium polygons. And they refuse to mint, to help with the mint itself. Even the NFT platforms that are in Egypt, there is one, I found one in Egypt. Its name is Planet NFT. It has a very small me to mint
Okay.
the art, and they take a huge part of the
Okay.
revenue from there's an auction in front. So I don't get the mint idea that I'm selling my art and you are going to collect it. Why do I have to?
Look, for both of you, you will come and give me your mail address and I will send you my presentation of yesterday because it was really the point. There was all the part on minting, on the platforms, on choosing the platforms, how to get paid after that and all this. I will just like explain very briefly, but we can just discuss later. But the difference between Ethereum, blockchain, Polygon, Matic, or Tezos, it's just like, as I said earlier, there are a lot of DLT, a lot of solution of DLT, and a lot of blockchains, public blockchains. Right now, there are a lot of we still don't have something that is called interoperability, which is the fact that we can operate NFTs, smart contracts, all these things through the different blockchain, but a lot of people are working on that. I think in the next few years we are going to have that. And for now, so when you choose to mint, to create an NFT on one blockchain, it is always on this blockchain. And each blockchain has their own token that you can use to do things on this blockchain. These tokens are called cryptocurrencies and they are forbidden here, so I certainly not promote that. And there are other solutions, such as big platforms, such as OpenSea, Rarible, Nifty Gateway, Nifty Souk, that are on Ethereum and that are very used by everyone, and give you the ability to mint for free, so you don't have to deal with cryptocurrencies. Even for it's on Ethereum and it's Rarible, OpenSea, and Nifty Gateway are giving you this ability. And collectors actually, depending again on the collectors, have to just accept this if they want to collect, because you are the creator and you said that you are going to pay the gas fees. So this was just changed.
The 100%, the answer is no.
But you don't have to ask, just create it.
Are you working for the platform?
Mm.
What's the point?
No, but you have to do awareness and explain what are gas fees. It's not like nobody is touching the gas fees, neither the platform, neither you. The gas fees are just like the fees of the use of the blockchain. It's not like it's something that someone is going to put in his pocket. Well, the miners put. Where are you with your wallets? Are you okay? No? Not yet. There is a problem. Anyhow, those who have a wallet now have a wallet, so you can access. There are the three lines on the left. When you click on that, you have access to your address. Then you have access to the wallet where you are. Everything that you own is stored, and you have browser. When you go to browser, you can just like access to all the websites who are working on the blockchains, and there you can just like connect to wallet, and from there you can just like you are on the blockchain and you are on the Web3 and you are using it. So, for example, the different marketplace that we discussed, you can just like go to OpenSea, and when you go on OpenSea, you can just like connect to wallet, and you will have access to all the possibilities. You can create an NFT, you can stuff and stuff. There are less than 2.20% of the Egyptian population who have a wallet, so Mabruk for those who did it. And I suggest you to do that. You should upload on the Chrome navigator the extension, MetaMask extension, because you can do a lot more things from the computer than from the telephone. So I will continue because we only have quarter. Yeah. So now we are going to see the limits, because a lot of critics have been done on the Web3. One of the main things that we heard for the past 10 years was the carbon footprint. What must be understood is that it's changing. It has changed for the past years. KPMG, which is one of the big four, has issued a report on the future of blockchains not 3 weeks ago, and they are stating in it that actually the narrative is going to change for the next year, because now most of the carbon footprint has been reduced because they are using renewable energy to make working the blockchains. And also because Ethereum, which is the main and the major blockchain, has just changed the way they validated their things, and so they went into what is called POS, but I don't enter into that, and they reduced a lot their footprint. So basically, this limit is started to be tackled. And another thing to say is also this technology is supposed to be replacing by the fact that by distributing the database. I didn't enter into it, but this is what it do. And the fact that in the next 5 to 10 years, all the database and servers are going to be distributed among the users means that globally, when the biggest industries are going to go through this technology, their uses of servers and electricities are going to decrease enormously, which means that actually it's going to be an option to really reduce the global carbon footprints of all the industries using databases and servers. Illegal uses. For a long time, we heard that Web3 and the dark web is used to do a lot of illegal things, horrible things. We can see, actually, there is some kind of statistical calculus that have been made to understand what is the proportion of the illegal use compared to all the uses on the blockchains. So for the last years, it was only 2.12% of the whole amount of transactions on the different blockchains, which is nothing, but still represents 20 billions of dollars, which is kind of crazy if you think of it, but relatively to all the uses that there is, it's still nothing. The fact that there are no regulations and there is a systemic instability and a lot of risk for investors. This is true. We saw the different scandals that we had for the past, the last year actually. But again, regulation is coming everywhere. The European Parliament just voted last year the MiCA regulation. The US are working, the SEC is working on a regulation. So basically the regulation of these things are coming.
Just to say that the regulation is the regulation of scammers,
Yeah.
not the regulation of blockchain or DLT.
Totally. But again, and to go on this way, when you have a wallet, just like the one you download, you have an access that is your own. So what you are going to do through this wallet is going to be linked to yourself because you have your private keys. If you go through something that is called an exchange, where you are going to put things there, your money or anything else, you don't have private keys. You are going back to the Web2 philosophy and giving a central server some access to your fund. And all the scams that we saw the past few years are related to the centrality of these things. So again, this have to be understood. And I read that 2 days ago, there is a new company who is working on decentralized exchanges, where actually we'll be able to enter through your own wallet and don't have to go to servers. So actually the regulation is going to come through the technology normally, but again, we are living in a world that is still regulated by politics and states, and regulation are continuing to be important in this kind of.
And also the systemic instability is the words of the regulators who have a very unstable system themselves. It will crash. It's crashing now. And this system is uncrashing because it's peer-to-peer, because it's decentralized. So these words are from the, what do you call it, like the ones that would wish this didn't happen.
All this section is about the word that we use against, actually. This was just to tackle the. And now the Web3 limits, this is something very real and something the book I'm writing with the AI is about that. It's because right now we can see two paths, two similar and parallel paths on this technology. One of them is promoting decentralization, governance for all, democratization, and the other one is just like using the decentralization of the techniques to apply it for central governance. It go along with social credits. It go along with being able to control the digital identities of the citizen directly, and so the funds, because there is another thing that is happening right now. It's the central bank digital currencies, which is basically something that central banks are working on in order to digitalize their money and their national currencies. But this means that each one of us as citizens are going to have a number attributed, which is going to be our digital identity, and everything is going to be controlled by a central entity. And again, this can be quite frightening. But again, we are on two similar paths, on two parallel paths, and nobody knows really where it's going to go. But we are at this kind of, we are not still at the crossroad because we are far from it, but we are approaching it very quickly. Voilà, as we say. So now let's discuss. I hope it was interesting. Well, no, discuss. Let's discuss first. No, you don't want to discuss.
I need to ask something about the mid journey you open but close.
You want to see me journey?
Yeah, but I needed to help me have account in this, but I needed the video or in YouTube or anything to help me how to write the code of
The right
image.
prompt?
Yeah.
Actually,
Another point about to save my job, not to public everything, everyone.
your job is artist. Again, I don't think that Midjourney is going to really even replace. So Midjourney, you can access it. Midjourney is one of the 2 or 3 artificial intelligence that give you the possibility to create visual art through prompt. So prompt is a way of stating what you want the artificial intelligence to create, to produce. So basically now we are seeing the emergence of a new job, which is a prompt creator. Because it's very hard actually to make the artificial intelligence depicting what you want it to depict. Again, we are in the beginning, so I think it's going to be easier and easier as long as we are going to advance. So this is Discord. I don't know if you know it. It's a social media, quite strange, with a lot of servers, and I don't like it very much, but it's quite useful. And so to access Midjourney, you can either download a playground which requires very small technical capacities. But if you go to Google and ask playground Midjourney, I think you will have all the steps. I did it like that, so I have it. But I didn't update it, so I could not show it to you for this. But otherwise, you can just go to the Midjourney server on Discord and just do all the steps, rule getting started, welcome, and then you can go into channels here, and then you go through. So you have to go on the chat. Right. To choose the right thing, and you put a prompt. What do you want us to do? Who want to see something?
What's your next project? What do you need to draw a picture of next? People? Doing what?
her project is about the LGBTQ community and nudity in general.
This is a vision available to write how the sex or not available.
Actually, as so,
Not realistic about the art.
actually, this is one of the blessings for the artists. It's because these things are coming from US, and US are somehow and very strangely prudish. So all the AI have some limitation, and you don't have the right. I will write it, but I think they will just like spot a forbidden message saying that you can't put sexy or nudes or anything like that in this kind of stuff. They refuse it. So what?
But if you want to do something violent, yeah, put it in.
I know. On the same time. So these are the prompts that people are asking at the same time. So you just have to search for your prompt. Actually, the only way that I have to access it, or you can do some download and do the playground on the computer. But yeah, I have to go down. It's not easy to manipulate that from there, but
Depending on the filters, and it does take longer to do certain things.
yeah, also yes.
Instantaneous. If it's a very common question, like an anime character doing, I don't know, flying through the air or something, it's real quick because there's so many people doing that and there's so much database image of that. If there's not so many images of it, it's got a lot of thinking to do, and usually it comes up with crap. So don't worry about your art being, in jeopardy. It comes out like crap if it has any real creative new thing. If you're drawing something original, the Mid Journey can't do it. It can only do what you see on packaging. It can't create anything. It's only.
Here is what have been created.
What's quite amazing is that if you ask it to do it in the style of.
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, you can just like continue your.
Something else that's already known in the style of something that's uncommon or not the same. It's pretty cool that it comes up with, what's it, Andy Warhol style or something. Don't worry as a creator. Keep creating. Keep being original. AI, this is not AI. This is machine learning. AI is not existing yet. Really. I mean, not that we have access to.
Which is important to precise.
Yes, exactly. We don't have access to the AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. We don't.
I'm going to close.
Doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
So, to close that, Well, uh, there is a revolution in progress. I think it was kind of obvious to say. It's important for the art and the culture also, and learning that I think is really necessary, and you have access to all the resources that are free on the internet for that. So thank you. These are my contacts for those who would like to ask questions. Okay. Thank you for your attention and very active presence.
Also, we would like to present this trophy as a token of appreciation and gratitude for your presence here with us in Cairo Photo Week. So please give it up for Shiran Abderrazak once again, and thank you very much for your presence here with us. Thank you.
See you in a while.